Today we're going to be talking about overclockable CPUs and what you need in those systems, or if they're even necessary at all. But first, my name is Steve Smith, this is TQA Weekly, and are overclockable CPUs necessary? No, they in fact aren't, but there are some good reasons to why you should buy an overclockable CPU, but I'm not going to shove it down your throat. Listen to what I have to say, and then you make up your own mind. Overclockable processors have the potential to have and need much more power in the process. This does mean that you get more performance, but you get a higher heat load from the processor, as well as requiring more power to power the processor. So the first thing is you're going to need better cooling anyway. But if you are a gamer, you're going to buy a brand new cooler for your CPU anyway, whether it be a better Noctiwall fan for it, or a Cooler Master fan, or even something that is a little bit in the lines of an AIO water cooler. But on top of all this, these faster processor speeds also make many of the computer's tasks and all of your tasks that much faster, making that specific aspect of the computer good, because you'll be able to achieve a lot of more stuff without waiting as long, whether you do it day one or later on down the line when your computer starts feeling slow. And this also means that with the better cooler, your processor will also be able to achieve a lot more stuff. Then there's also the requirement that you need better power. So a better power supply, which by the way will make it simple, basically only needs to say 80 plus on it, because they actually test those and the wattage on the box is much closer to what they're supposed to have as a result, compared to the cheap ones that don't necessarily have all of the wattage that they claim on the box. Then of course, let's talk about the computer chassis. If the computer chassis is well ventilated, changing all of the ambient air, keeping all the components cool, all the components are going to last longer anyway. And that means that you'll be able to have a computer that lasts longer, not just the CPU, because everything is going to be cooler. Because keep in mind, that CPU cooler, it dumps somewhere, and it's usually inside of the system. So if all of that hot air is pushed out of the computer faster, than the overall temperature of everything else is going to be that much lower. And of course, we also have to worry about other things such as the main board. It's all fine and dandy to tell you need a better power supply, you need a better CPU cooling. If you go for an overclockable CPU or an unlocked CPU, your main board has to support it. If the main board doesn't support those features, then you won't be able to take advantage of overclocking even in the future. So an overclockable main board, so a main board designed to do that, is important before you try to do all of this adventure at the same time. And before you start saying that that's going to be expensive and that you're going to have to change everything every time you upgrade your computer, that's not exactly true. If you have a really good computer chassis that is well ventilated, you can keep those. If you have really great fans for your CPUs where you can still find brackets that connect onto even the newer standards, then you can keep those too. Power supplies tend to be good a really long time, especially those that are 80 plus. So in those cases, you might actually be able to keep those as well. Hard drives and SSDs might still be good depending on the usage of those actual specific components, and sometimes the RAM is still good if the spec for it is still around. So you don't necessarily have to swap out everything when you're upgrading, but also at the same time, with the overclockable aspect of your system, it can be good longer. So you can use it a lot longer than you would have if you didn't have the choice. And having the choice is what it ultimately comes down to. Giving yourself the choice to be able to get that much more power out of your system might be the difference between buying a computer every 3 years or buying a computer every 4 or longer. So like this episode if you liked it, dislike it if you didn't, share with those that you think could benefit from this, and don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions for topics, email me at ask@tqaweekly.com or go to my website, tqaweekly.com. And of course, if you want to make this show better, go to patreon.com/tqaweekly and become a patron today. Patrons get these episodes 24 hours in advance of everyone else. Thank you and goodbye.